Hello, and welcome to Knights of the Night Actual Play Podcast. This D&D 5th edition adventure, The Heretic, was written and run by your DM, Scott. And now, please enjoy episode 475, titled, You Grabbed Your Crossbow, and that's an international language. Actual play begins immediately.
Hello, I'm your DM, Scott, for this evening's 5e adventure, The Heretic. With me tonight, starting on my right, is...
I'm Michael, playing Brother Byron, a human acolyte utilizing the grave domain.
I'm Tom. I'm playing Alder Rusha, a male human cleric that is now a member of the Fist of Amira.
Hi, I'm Mike, playing Marduk, a male half-orc fighter, graduate of the Academy, and new Fist of Amira.
I am Jim. I'm playing Grodor, who is a Fist of Amira. He is a weak male hobgoblin warlock from Dulgug. He is on a quest for power and knowledge.
John, I'm playing Melody, a female cleric, the third of the exemplar family Harmony, an ex-ambassador turned political operative.
I'm Thomas. I'm playing Gabrielle d'Angelis. She's a female human paladin and a holy fist of Amira on a mission to the Hollow Lands.
Recapping what happened last week, you had broken into two separate parties. One went back with the soldiers to the battalion camp for the night to spend time with Captain Bran, and the other group went into the woods to spend time with the Wood Elves in their domain and learn a bit more about them. In the captain's area of the encampment, you were treated to a fine meal and some stories about the 7th Battalion, which is the battalion that's currently passing by. And you shared information about yourselves and learned a lot about the goings-on in the camp. In the Wood Elf encampments, that was just an evening of hunting and quiet conversation around dinner before heading off to bed. Back in the battalion camp, as Grodor was falling asleep, he started to have a dream in which these creatures with red caps, they were almost like gnomish or dwarfish creatures, crawled out of the earth back where the soldier had been struck with the arrow and had almost bled out into the grass. These creatures crawled out from the earth and started to head towards the encampment of the Wood Elves. Grodor was then told by his patron, and that's where we'll start off this evening with Grodor, Alder, Marduk, and Gabrielle in the 7th Battalion camp. We're going to start off in that camp for right now and go from there.
I was planning on waking everybody up. I'm going, hey guys, wake up now. The group in the woods are in trouble. They have incoming hostiles. We need to help them out. Wake up, let's go.
What do you guys do?
I'm running over to the horses and untying them and leading them towards the front of the tent, where I assume Marduk and I will ride and the others can ride as well. Unless, Gabrielle, you're a better rider than I am.
That's questionable. I don't know your skill level.
Would riding be considered animal handling?
Yes.
All right,
I am of a moderate skill, not particularly amazing.
I have proficiency in it.
Me too.
Then I bring the horses forward and let both of you pick one, take one. And
Sure. What kind of problem? I'm a little stunned. I just woke up. Do I need armor?
Yes, they're being attacked by gnomish, red-headed gnomish things that came from the ground. We need to go now. They're coming from the road and heading toward their camp. I have no idea where their camp is, but I'm pretty sure...
You are actually, Grodor, when you think about and say that, I have no idea where the camp is, you actually then feel this pull as if you're being led towards where they might be. You feel this pull in that direction. It's fairly strong.
Right. Grodor said yes. Gabrielle has her gambeson on by the time he realizes that he's felt the pull, and she's getting her chainmail on, which takes a bit longer, I think.
Right. If you want to get dressed, I think it's 2 minutes or so for chainmail. Up to you as to whether you want to just have the leather on underneath or whether you want the full
No,
chain.
I'll go with leather. Like, gambeson is like a very thick coat. It's something you can put on in a few seconds, but if chainmail takes 2 minutes, we don't have that kind of time. So.
Yeah, I just wear studded leather, so I grab my weapons. I pick up Grodor and throw him up behind Marduk. Go! And jump up on the other horse.
I whip the horse into action.
Okay.
Grodor's got to lead us since he is feeling the pull. He will guide us.
Let's go ahead with an animal handling check for both Marduk and for Gabrielle.
Marduk has an 18.
Excellent.
I also rolled an 18.
All right. These draft horses actually do a good job of dashing through the camp successfully without trampling over any tents that are already set up or any guardsmen who are patrolling during the night. You make it out to the south way, the large road cutting through the land. You go over the south way. The moonlight is fairly evident. It's pretty much a cloudless night, so you have pretty good visibility as far as what you can see. You see a clearing of about 100 feet, and then you see the forest start up in earnest. The draft horses clop over the south way, head into the clearing where there's some light trees, and then, boom, you're in the forest. Grodor, you're being told to the left, trying to guide Marduk. And Marduk, you fairly quickly are able to find a path in the forest that is, it's not a large path, it's a walking path more than a riding path, but it's a path. Grodor seems to be guiding you along that path.
Okay.
Go ahead and both of you, while you're in the forest, make a animal handling check, please.
Marduk has a 21.
17, 15 plus 2.
Okay, you both do a fantastic job, and you lead the horses down the pathway, eventually around a turn, and I'm going to cut to the other group for a second.
Okay.
As the evening wound down, Mel and Brother Byron, Aranis offered to take first watch for the night. There's some talking around the campfire until maybe 9, 10 o'clock at night. And then Vidania makes her bedroll up. They don't sleep in tents, but they have like bedrolls that they're going to sleep in. And she makes her bedroll up and says her goodnights after a evening of inquisitive questioning from her regarding all sorts of topics. She was just absolutely enthralled by people from outside the reverent Weald that she has had as a home for her entire life. So she was quite the chatterbox during dinner and the conversation afterwards, but she eventually falls asleep sometime after 10. Aranis offers to take first watch. What do you do, Mel, and what do you do, Brother Byron?
I wanted to talk to the druid and spend some time showing my priestly, like, holy symbol, incense, and that kind of crap.
She's utterly enthralled by it. She wants to know more. What are your churches like? What are your temples like? What prayers do you know? She shares some of her prayers with you. Absolutely enchanted by the whole idea of talking to people outside of her normal group.
In our youth, Gabrielle, myself, and Melody all lived in the city, so we knew each other. We all had a signal we could give each other, not to just scream out and watch the name, but since we hung out sometimes in the court, sometimes doing things that weren't necessarily good because we were young kids.
Right.
So that I could do a call that a hawk would make that is reasonable that you would see it in the city occasionally. Is that something I could do to try to warn Melody that something is wrong? Because that's what we used to do is, hey, pay attention. The Soul Watcher are nearby. I also have a cantrip, which is the ability to make it 3 times louder than normal just so it could go farther. Thaumaturgy. Is that something?
Yeah, you can definitely do that as you work your way into the woods, which it is apparent that you are in a mystical place. There's glowing moss and glowing lights that sometimes flitter by, not will-o-wisps, but just glowing lights. There's verdant life in this forest. It is absolutely filled with the calls of animals and the workings of things moving in the brush, the undergrowth. It has this aura about it as just a beautiful, magical place. So you could make those calls for a warning. Getting back to Mel and Brother Byron, you stay up a little bit later, from 9 till 10 after dinner, an hour's worth of conversation with Vidania.
Okay, I make up like a subset of my priest pack and just put like 2 candles in there, stick it
Right.
in incense. Are any of the coins that we carry and use silver?
I think your character started with some gold pieces, and you can say that some of those gold pieces were actually 10 silver pieces, because you've gone to bars and bought drinks and stuff like that, so you've got change, right?
Yeah. All right, so I throw one of those in there because I heard about elves and silver. I have no idea if it's true. But
Okay. She is very appreciative when you give her the pack at the end of your conversation. She blushes. She puts her eyes down like she's really taken aback by the gift.
I want to try to teach her one of my easiest spells. I'm not necessarily going to teach her, but I want to see how close she gets.
Right, like a cantrip?
How quick she picks it up. Yeah. And then maybe she'd offer the same. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to say you guys actually end up staying up later at that point, probably closer to 11 o'clock as you talk magic, because if I'm not mistaken, you speak Elvish, which she's much more comfortable speaking in Elvish than she is in Common. Her Common is very halting and very thick with an accent. So if she can speak to someone in Elvish, she's really happy with that. And I believe that Mel can understand Elvish as well, so you're not completely blocking her out of any conversation as well. Mel can be involved if she wants to be. She does share. What cantrips do you have? Or which one are you trying to teach her?
Yes, I don't know what the simplest one is. Mending, spare the dying.
She has mending, so you guys can bond over that for a little while. She seems intrigued by thaumaturgy. She spends a good half hour working on it, and she gets some sparks and some clicks and some... Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you make a spellcasting check? You rolled a 16, which is a good roll. So we're going to say that she does get some clicks and sparks, and she's able to make some progress in just the half hour you spend with her. And she spends a half hour with you afterwards. She has a cantrip called Guidance. Do you have that one?
No.
Okay. Well, she wants to show you a little bit about Guidance. Basically what it does is it gives you a +4 to any ability check. You can touch somebody and you give them a +4 in their next ability check. It's very helpful if you're about to do something stealthy or if you're going to make some type of ability check to do an action of some sort. Anyway, she spends time teaching you that, and let's see how she does. She rolls an 18, so she has a +6 as well on hers.
Oh, nice.
You're able to get the fundamentals down of some hand movements and some other motions. You don't actually gain the cantrip yet, but it definitely is one that you feel pretty comfortable that if you spend a little bit more time on it, you could probably learn that.
Great.
Okay. Mel, what do you do for the rest of the evening, or you just pack it in after dinner and some conversation?
I think I spend a minute with a book, and then after a minute, I'm like, do elves even have books? So I start talking to, I don't know if the guy wants to talk, but the elder.
Aranis, he's not really super old, actually. He looks like a pretty young wood elf.
Seemed like he was in charge of the expedition. So
He's definitely in charge.
Senior in that regard.
In the elder word of seniority, yes. That would be him. And he's not as effusive as Vidania is. He's definitely much more reserved, but he does talk. And he does say that they have books. They have a city nearby within the Reverent Weald. Many elves are very fond of books. He is someone who prefers a little bit more action than books.
So he doesn't have any to trade, huh?
But he didn't bring any books with him, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, I think that I've had my conversation more or less with the last week, so
Right.
I think that'll be it for me.
Okay. I'm going to say that both of you fall asleep, maybe 10:30ish for Mel and 11 o'clock or a little bit after 11 for Brother Byron. Mel, you hear the sound of a crow that you're very, very familiar with. It wakes you up in your sleep. There's a loud crowing sound that sounds exactly like the crow you used to hear in the city streets of Temerity when you were younger and hanging out with Gabrielle and Alder around town. And so you're woken up before anyone. Aranis is poking at a fire and basically just maintaining his watch. Nothing much is happening, but you're startled awake when that happens and you hear the crow.
Mm-hmm. Did I bring my crossbow here? That's not very friendly of me.
I think you did because you probably had it on you.
We had the offer to go hunting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, then I'll pull out the crossbow and just try to give a look to Aranis, and I think I kick Byron and then jog into the woods to try to find a hiding spot away from the fire.
Aranis looks confused, but he sees you grab your crossbow, and that's an international language.
Yeah.
So he doesn't need too much forewarning. He pulls out his longbow, and just as that happens, rounding the corner into your little, well, let me put up a map real quick. In the top right corner of the map, there is a fire pit. So right now, you guys are off the map, the four of you who are eagerly, desperately trying to get to where you're going. On the map currently, around the fire, is Vidania, Aranis, Brother Byron, and Mel. Mel, you've snuck into the woods for your one surprise round because you were early to the show here with your crossbow. Vidania hears a quick whistle from Aranis and wakes up with a start, and she immediately pulls out her longbow as well. And just around the corner as that happens, you see two wiry, gnomish creatures wearing these red caps that when they get closer you'll see are actually soaked in blood. And they have these huge bushy mustache and beards, like a white shock of hair, and a huge sickle.
Well, is it a huge sickle or is it huge to them because they're small?
Yeah, it's an oversized
relative.
sickle for them. And this would be the time that we're going to all roll for initiative. So I'm going to roll for the red caps. Okay, so Gabrielle, you are the highest at 18.
Indeed.
I get to move as fast as you do because I'm on your horse.
Try to
You
get
don't get
these.
to make an action until we get there.
Perhaps my horse is spooked by the impending smell of blood and death. And
That's going to come up actually as a roll
Oh, okay.
because they're draft horses and not war horses.
We're going to teach them.
Oh,
You're going
I
to
was
teach them
just-
indeed.
can we see the red caps from where we're riding, even if we're too far off the map?
Because of the foliage, I'm going to say that you did not actually see them yet. You know there's danger, but you don't know what the danger is. I don't know why
I'm
this.
not necessarily asking if I knew what the danger was. Did I know the danger was very close? Or is it a surprise when we turn the corner? Because if it is, I might not have cast the spell that I can cast.
Okay, I think that Grodor would say something along the lines of, "We're almost there." His pool is telling him that he's close.
Okay. Then on my turn, while stirring the horse onwards, I will also cast the spell, Heroism. A willing creature you touch is imbued with bravery. This creature is immune to being frightened and gains temporary hit points equal to your spellcasting ability modifier at the start of each of its turns. And I say, Silas, I need you to be brave for me. And cast the spell.
You cast it on the horse?
Yeah, I don't want the horse spooking.
That's fine.
I'm not wearing armor. You don't really understand how bad that is for me. My dex is nothing. So I'm going to stay on this horse. I'm worried a bit, I'm not going to lie. I'm not made to fight like this.
I'll make do.
Welcome to my world.
6.
Yeah, you can also shoot crazy eldritch bolts, Grodor.
It is a turn that, Gabrielle, you guys are off the map, but you need to control the animal. So you do a spell to increase the bravery of the horse.
Silas is going to be a hero today.
And then you make an animal handling check, and I'll give you advantage because of the spell.
Absolutely.
That would indicate that I probably need to make another animal handling check without advantage or
That
benefit.
wasn't even with advantage. Shit.
You would make an animal handling check. You don't have disadvantage. It's just a regular check, but the skill level is obviously a little bit up there because of
Jesus.
you're wasting them all.
No, that was with advantage. I had to roll a second one.
I know, but you're wasting them all.
Gabrielle rolled 2 natural 20s.
I did. I rolled a
Back to
total
back
of
natural
22, back-to-back natural 20.
You've talked your horse into thinking it's a warhorse.
Gabrielle, you may be where you're at right now on the map. That's where you end your turn with the horse. Spooked. It's not happy,
Mm-hmm.
but it's brave, and it's taking you where you need to go. That takes us to Byron. Because this is a bit of a clearing, Byron, there is dim light. So you can, even though you're human and have trouble seeing at night, you can see decently, but you are at a disadvantage on perception checks because of the dim light. Now, luckily, the red caps are not very, well, I should say they're not very quiet. Let's take a look and see what their stealth was. They rolled a 13, but it's minus, actually they have to roll with disadvantage because of their attire. Okay, so they rolled an 11 for their stealth. So as they're coming up on you, they're relatively easy to spot, but you do have disadvantage in the night and a rock in front of you that's decent size, and the bushes and trees are kind of hanging over a little bit, the area that they're running through. So go ahead and make a perception check to see if you can figure out what's going on right this second. And that perception check is with disadvantage because of the darkness. Okay, you know something's happening. You hear the beat of horse hooves approaching. You got kicked by Mel with something's coming, a quick statement of fear. You can't quite place where it is right this second. They're small. They're moving in the dark. They're darkly clothed. They're moving in the underbrush. It's tough to find them right now.
I'm going to pick up my crossbow and ready it. Can I move there?
Sure. That rock is, I'd say, about 3 foot off the ground or so. You could actually place your crossbow on it and hunker down behind it for some protection. You got cover if you want it.
Yeah, that's what I do. I'm down on one knee.
Okay. The elves are next. I will make perception checks. They have dark vision, so they can see just fine. But Vidania rolled a natural 1, so she is blocked from seeing the red caps. Aranis also not picking up well. He rolled a 6 on his perception check. Now, they do have wisdom bonuses, but not enough to get them even to 11, where the red caps were at.
Do they have advantage?
Stealthily.
Do they have advantage because they're in their woods?
You know, it is their woods. That's a good point. But the red caps are fey creatures as well. So it's kind of fey on fey with the skills kind of wiping each other out a bit. I'm going to go ahead and just give them a typical roll. So what they're going to do is Aranis moves to what he feels is a defensible position and is looking all around for danger. Vidania backs up. She's going to ready her bow as well. Alder, you're up. Alder, you are in the back of Gabrielle's horse. So you moved at its initiative. You can dismount if you want. It's going at full speed right now, or maybe slightly slowing down because Grodor is saying, to the right. And we're close. So I think, was it fair to say, Gabrielle, that you would have them slow down a bit?
I don't know how much I know about the terrain in front of me. I might think I'm just going to charge right through the creatures.
Okay. So
But
you're going.
if Alder is going to give me advice, now's the time to do it. Alder, where do you want to be? I want to ride right through this mess.
Can I see the red caps?
Make a perception check, please. You are human as well, and it's disadvantage because, again, it's dim light. No one's cast a light spell or continual flame or nothing like that yet, at least at this point. It's dim light and not darkness because of the moonlight shining down.
Okay, I rolled a 5. I do dismount as quickly as possible, and my attempt is to go towards the woods that is next to us. I want to go to the right because there's another horse to my left, and I don't want to be run over.
Go ahead and make a dexterity check for dismounting the horse. I will let you choose between, well, I'm going to say animal handling, actually, because I think it's what's supposed to be used when you're mounting or dismounting a horse hastily.
Well, I mean, the other option is acrobatics, but it's up to you.
I'm going to let you choose.
I don't want to affect what the horse is doing. I'm not asking it to slow down, so I'm assuming I'm just jumping off and rolling.
Right.
As best I can, which apparently I can do pretty damn well as I rolled a 16.
Because it's a draft horse and it's not, I mean, even its top speed isn't, I mean, it's fast, but it's not some kind of quick steed here. that's blazing through the forest, and it is wide open area where you're at right this second, pretty wide open, with some overhanging foliage. With your 16, you jump, hit the ground, do a shoulder tuck and roll, and come up against a group of trees that give you some cover as you look around wildly trying to see what
I have no idea where they are. I
don't know where the
assume
enemy is.
I assume it's still in the direction that the horse was moving, but I just run over to the forest and step inside, and the intent is next time to be stealthful and sneak up on the camp. Because by then, well, I don't know. So that's probably my turn.
Sounds good. Let's see. After Alder is the Redcaps. They have a speed of 25, so they continue to move forward somewhat stealthily. As they get that close, Byron, I'm going to give you another, because they made another move with their stealth, so I'm going to give you another chance to try to see them.
Okay.
It is
still disadvantage?
It is dim light. You can see out to 60 feet in dim light, not with disadvantage. They're actually wearing iron boots. It's just something that distinguishes them. Just a standard perception check. The dice just aren't agreeing with you tonight. They're hunched down and moving quietly. So right now you still don't see them, unfortunately. I apologize for that. But we go from the Redcaps on to Mel at 10. Mel, you can make a perception check as well if you'd like. You can make a standard perception check as well.
I rolled a 17.
That is more than enough.
Okay. It's not disadvantage with the crossbow at this range.
Because you're just on the edge of the heavier wood, I'm not going to give you disadvantage on your attack roll to hit them. There's not a lot of foliage in your way.
Got a 19.
19 is a hit.
And I did 8 damage, piercing.
Okay. You have used your crossbow quite a bit in your travels, and you realize that shot, it should have stuck more. They're not wearing a lot of armor, but I don't know, you feel something in you that makes you know that there's something going on here. Maybe because they're Fae jumps to your mind because of your travels and your studies.
Mm-hmm.
It should have been more wounded than it was. It grunted in pain, but when it grunts in pain, Byron, you may fire your shot. You see them now with an arrow sticking out of them almost right in front of you. You can't believe you missed them, but there they are. You can see 2 of them creeping past you. They're looking towards where you know Aaron is to be. Absolutely stunned that it's 10 feet away from you and you couldn't see it. But now it's in your sights. Both of them, actually, you see 2 of them in your sights, and you can go ahead and make your roll if you'd like.
I rolled a 16.
A 16 does hit.
5 piercing.
5 piercing damage. All right. You get the same feeling that Mel had. That was a little better of a shot. That should have stuck. And actually, it just kind of ripped through the side of his armor and hit him. But it should have done more. You're sure of it. That takes us to Grodor. Grodor, you are on the back of Marduk's horse, so we have to wait for Marduk, who made a check of a 13, if I'm not mistaken, right, Marduk, on the animal handling?
Yes, the 13.
As you got close to these creatures and the smell of the evil Fae filled the nostrils of your draft horse, your draft horse comes up just short, stops, just off the map. So with a dismount, you would be stepping onto the map. Marduk, go first just because you control the horse. Well, actually, Marduk, the horse moved on your turn. It stops. Grodor, you go because you have the higher initiative.
Yeah, I'm probably sliding off the horse as it's stopping, and he's reining it in.
That is half of your movement to dismount from the horse, unless you want to try to not do that with some type of acrobatics or athletics. Or
that's not me.
Okay. Leaves you with 10 foot of movement left, and you have this heavy pull to the northeast. You can feel where the Redcaps, the evil Fae, are.
It's just moving up, and then do I have to make a roll to see them?
I'm going to give you a check with advantage, because first of all, as a hobgoblin, you have dark vision,
yeah,
which means you're seeing as if it's the middle of the day right now, and then your patron is pulling you towards them, which makes it fairly obvious. So roll a perception check with advantage. Wow, just enough, actually. Your first roll of 12 is just enough to get you where you need to be. You spot one of them. The other one that's further to the west, the one behind a rock, right, is someone that you're not seeing right now, but you feel its presence.
And I fire a spell at this thing.
So you verbally speak out, you make some hand gestures, and a beam of crackling energy streaks towards the red cap. Natural 20.
That's a crit. I don't even remember how those work.
That is a crit. So you double the damage dice and the other factors. So basically it takes 1 die 10 force damage. It takes 2 dice 10 force damage because of the critical nature. There is something about you, Grodor, and Eldritch Blasts that are just in tune.
It's my thing.
Your patron has led you to great heights with this mystical attack.
I rolled a 3 and a 2. I rolled crappy.
So a total of 5 damage.
And then I didn't add anything. Is there anything added to that? Or?
No, because it's a cantrip, you don't add other things to it, unfortunately. But you did the 5 damage, and you felt like you got an appreciable grunt. It wasn't like he was resistant to your magic. The damage struck home.
What skill would we roll to try and figure out what we used to be a creature knowledge?
Well, nature is for animals.
Survival.
This isn't an animal. Yeah. I did survival by mistake the first time when one of the first, I think it was with the ogre, and it should have been nature. But these aren't natural creatures. These are creatures of fey origin. So I would say something more along the lines of Arcana roll. An intelligence Arcana, I think, would be a fair roll for fey.
Maybe history, too.
Maybe history. That would be doable. Grodor, you moved. You flambéed the red cap with your Eldritch Blast. Is there anything else you're doing as a free action before your turn is over?
No, that's about it.
Okay. That takes us to Marduk. Marduk, you are up, and again, half your movement to get off the horse unless you want to try to dismount quickly and gracefully.
I am going to dismount quickly and gracefully.
Okay, so I'm going to say if you want to only spend 5 movement points to dismount the horse, since it's stopped, I'm going to give you an animal handling check with a DC of 10. Otherwise, you take half your movement. Okay.
Goodness gracious.
You're stuck in a rut. You didn't have an automatic failure, thank goodness. You rolled a 2 and not a 1. You got that going for you at least. That is not a trip and a fall on your face type situation. But you spend half your movement dismounting the horse somewhat ungracefully. And now you can step 5 feet onto the map.
So now I have another 10 feet of movement. I will move forward, double speed. I'll do a double move.
Now as your action, do you want to take the dash action to get closer to the red caps? Okay.
And I've pulled my Spear of Amira that I got on my vision quest.
Yes.
And I'm wielding that.
Do you light up the ruins?
Yes. I ignite them or activate them or use them. And I also issue the Fist of Amira war cry as only a half-orc can. And I will move forward and close the distance. If there's rocks in it, does that count as double move?
Exactly. It's going to be double move.
So that ends my move, and I have issued my challenge, and I stand ready to face all foes in my T-shirt.
That sounds very dangerous, indeed. So you close the gap. You're to within 10 feet of
my point is I saw everyone trying to be stealthy. I'm going to try to be the bright light that draws attention and hopefully will help everyone else out.
I didn't tell you before, but your staff in Spear, maybe we'll come up with a name for it, but Spear of Amira will work well for right now, gives you a 15 feet radius of bright light. Nice. So it shines out 15 feet of bright, 15 feet of dim, and then darkness, just for future reference.
Is it normal light or radiant light?
It is normal light.
Okay. Cool.
So that's one of the things your staff does, and I don't know what they call it, staff or a spear, but
it's a spear, and it's
and
shining light reveals all.
You can do bludgeoning and piercing with it, correct?
Yeah, depending on how I choose to attack.
Okay.
Right.
Great. And that's Marduk at the end of the first round. So that's the whole first round. Everyone got into position. Most of you have found out where these foul little creatures are, but some of you haven't. That takes us to, well, when the one got struck, these creatures are small. They're about 3 or 4 foot high. So I'm not giving the elves an attack this first initial turn because of the fact that the little guy who got struck with the arrow by Mel and then by Brother Byron and then Grodor, he's behind that rock pretty much. That's a 3-foot rock, and he's almost completely concealed. So the 2 elves can't really get off a shot to affect him based on where he's at. And they haven't seen the other one yet, even though he's out in the open. Well, he's still hidden a bit from the druid, but not hidden from Aranis, the wood elf leader. Second round, Gabrielle, 18, go.
Okay. Have I managed to figure out where these red caps are yet? I don't think I've
Well,
for it.
They are within normal lighting now. You may make a perception check. It is not at disadvantage because they are in the glow of the Spear of Amira. Go ahead and make your perception check, please.
That took a moment, but I rolled a solid 19. I've got no bonus, so that was very lucky of me.
Yes, it was, and you see them clear as day.
Okay. Man.
Although you see just the top of the red cap, the bloody red cap, of the one that is furthest to the west, because he's behind a rock. The other one is not.
I found stats on draft horse. 40 feet of speed puts me right next to the red caps. I kind of wanted to dash through them.
So you pull to a stop at that point?
That's a good question. It kind of depends. Can I ask Silas to dash while making an attack on my own? What the cuss is going on with a horse's turn during my turn?
I would say a dash for a draft horse would be an incredible accomplishment. Yeah. I think you should make an animal handling check just to see if it doesn't stop dead close to these Fae.
Absolutely. Fair enough. I rolled
Excuse
16.
me.
What?
Could you have advantage because it still has hero?
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. I should have said that, but I thought it was foregone conclusion. He still has a spell on him. You still have advantage. My bad.
All right. Well, the second roll wasn't nearly as good. I rolled a 4, which is a 2 plus 2, and a 16, which is a 14 plus 2.
Okay. So
calm Silas as I go bounding into these creatures.
You calm Silas enough that he comes to a complete stop. You would have needed an 18 as a significant challenge to get a draft horse to charge through like a war horse, a bunch of creatures that smell of evil and have weapons, big sharp things that the horse doesn't necessarily feel comfortable about.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, you absolutely come to stop there.
I'm actually going to take a step over here because I have 10-foot reach with the polearm, and I do want to be out of people's way. And then I'll take a swing with my polearm.
Now, you're only 5 foot away from the red cap that's closest to you.
That's true. I might go for the other one, but I don't think there's any distinction between the two of them. There's different pictures, but I think that's just to help us know which is which, right?
There's no discernible differences between the two.
Yeah. All right. So as she gallops up, the horse trots to a stop, and then she swings with a perfect arm. This is a straight polo move. She swings her pole hammer down in a perfect arc, rolling a 21, strikes the creature somewhere about the head and shoulders, and attempts to slap it into the air.
Fey croquet.
Yeah,
Fey croquet. Okay, 21 does hit. Roll for damage.
Absolutely. 3 plus 3 strength for a total of 6 damage.
Again, from your training, from all the practice at the academy, you think that blow landed better than it did. You're a little disappointed by the amount of damage you did, but it did strike home.
All right.
The creature turns around quite surprised and cackles an evil cackle, and you get a chance to see the sickle up close and personal, and it's
nasty looking.
It's a nasty looking sickle.
And then I try to convince Silas to rear up and strike him with his hooves, because Silas did not make his dash action, so he still has an attack.
He has an attack. His attacks are normally back hooves to Marduk's head, is normally what he would be thinking.
That's
but
fair.
An attack with his front hooves, I'm going to give you, again, with advantage, a difficult DC, but I'll give you an 18 again.
Rear up. Do
it's
it.
so completely out of character for the horse. Although he is
Absolutely.
feeling kind of brave, which is why it ran into battle.
And you got
Oh
advantage.
man, I keep forgetting to click on advantage beforehand.
Yes.
I changed how it works. It used to query me, but it kept slowing me down. So just one more animal handling check. Oh, he's got nothing today.
You got better.
So
I rolled a total of 8, and 7 was the other result.
Silas is allowing you to operate off of his back, which is
A miracle.
impressive and a minor miracle for a draft horse that is being subjected to the smell of evil fae. That was Gabrielle at 18. Now we go to Brother Byron at 16.
I think I'm just going to try to shoot again.
Okay. The one you struck before?
Yeah, and meanwhile I'm asking,
Pincushion.
in Elvish, I'm asking if they've ever seen these before and what's the best way to eliminate them.
Okay.
21.
Oh, that's a hit. You struck him dead center from 10 feet away.
That's better. 9.
It is better. He had actually turned around to face Gabrielle with his sickle. You struck him right between the shoulder blades. I mean, it was a thunk. And again, you would have thought from your practice at the academy and all the time you spent with a crossbow that it would go in. That shot was so point blank and so perfect. It would go in about half the shaft deep, like it was that good of a shot. And yet it's sticking out of his back, kind of at a little bit of a cocked angle where it's in him and it stayed, but you just expected more and it's not happening for whatever reason.
I am disappointed.
Yes, I can understand, as would I be. Anything else you'd like to do? You're positioned nicely behind the rock. Are you
I'm
going to
staying
move?
there and just listening for a reply, if any.
You hear a curse and a mutter from the red cap. You spoke in Elvish, so both Aranis and Vidania, they finally located them. They don't have good shots. They're at disadvantage because of the rock. But they're like, no, we've never seen these before. They're absolutely confused.
Okay.
And that's Byron's turn, so it is the elf's turn. Aranis, he kind of backs way away with his longbow and then lets fly. He rolled a 2. Even with a +6, that's an 8. That's a miss with his first shot. He quickly draws a second arrow and rolls an 18. +6 is 24, which is a hit. We've got 5 damage. That's his turn. Vidania takes a different approach. She moves closer to Mel in the woods and then fires at an angle, avoiding disadvantage because of the cover on the one that's been a pincushion for everyone else. She fires with her longbow. 21 hits, 7 damage. So her sticks, and that takes us to Alder at 13.
If I'm moving through the woods, that's difficult terrain. So I move 3, which is 30 feet.
Yes.
If I shoot the closest one, is that still at a disadvantage?
I'm going to say, because there's still bushes and trees and stuff between you, gives cover. Now, cover isn't disadvantage, Alder. It's +2 to its armor class and +2 for any dexterity saves that it has to make against you. You can go ahead and do that. It just gets a little bump up in its armor class because of the foliage between you two.
Okay. And I miss regardless, I believe, because I rolled a 9 on my crossbow.
Unfortunately, that is a miss. Yeah, I would do a thing where if it hit the armor class of the person next in line, because they are in a row, the two of them, but you would miss his armor class as well. So the shot misses both. Anything else that you're doing with a free action or a bonus action?
No, that's the end of my turn.
Okay, red caps. This one dashes, engages, and it says something in a language that probably none of you understand. Does anyone speak Sylvan?
I have a tongue that transcends languages.
True, you do have a tongue that translates languages. You hear it say, Creator, why do you not welcome me with open hands? I come to reward you for your gift of life and it rears back its sickle, but it can't attack this turn because it did a dash action on its move. The other one stays where it's at and attacks you, Gabrielle, and it has a large-ass sickle. Does armor class 14 hit you?
I'm currently wielding the pole hammer, which means I can't also be wielding my shield, so yes.
Fair enough.
12 total.
Okay. Fighting without chainmail armor is
Real dangerous.
It is real dangerous. Okay, 2 dice 4. Wow. That was not good. That is a total of 8 plus 4, 12 slashing damage with the sickle. It cackles evilly and attacks you again.
Don't think I have anything I can do to react.
It rolled a natural 1, failing its attack. It attacks you again. 3 attacks. It rolls a 13 plus 6 is a hit.
Certainly.
2 dice 4. Wow. I'm rolling high on the 2 dice 4s. So that's a total of 11. Does Gabrielle fall off her horse?
I mean, yeah. I've got negative 6 HP.
Okay, but you don't go minus your full hit point, so it's not insta-death. It's down for the count. Gabrielle goes down in a heap off of the horse. And no, I'm not cruel enough to do falling damage. You just take a tumble. And that takes us to Mel.
Thank you for listening to Knights of the Night Actual Play Podcast. If you'd like to send us a question, comment, or feedback, you can reach us in a number of ways, including Twitter @KOTN_podcast or by emailing us at feedback@KOTNpodcast.com. And don't forget the iTunes reviews. We also have a Facebook page which can be found at facebook.com/KOTN.podcast. While on Facebook, you can join like-minded folks at our fan page at facebook.com/groups/KOTNfan. And lastly, there's our blog at KOTNpodcast.com, where there's an Amazon link on the right-hand side. For those of you who'd like a more steady way to help us pay the bills, or if you live outside the U.S., you can help by donating to our Patreon page at patreon.com/KOTN. And please remember to join us next week for more mystery and adventure.
I think if you go back and listen,
Yeah.
Is this a sneak attack?
they do not know you're there. So I'm going to say this is a sneak attack, yes.
Oh, I don't have, bonuses for that. Never mind.
Okay. I was going to say that would be a rogue type of situation, but I didn't think it applied.
Some games care, some games don't. But this one does.
And it goes, ah, every time you pull it out. Turn a light
Tom
on.
can find the sound file for that.
Polo.
Yeah.
Or space croquet.
It's horse croquet. What else is it? All right.
Other titles available for voting on our Facebook fan page were Fey Croquet, Wearing These Red Caps. You flambéed the red cap. They are draft horses, not war horses. Acrobatics or athletics? That's not me. And kind of Fey on Fey.